day. Guys, I'm not gonna lie. A big highlight of my day, every day, the hour before bed that I allot for myself, where I just cozy up right here against Mr. Dinosaur. I'm chilling, I'm in my Snuggie, I'm reading a book, drinking my LaCroix, my bubbly. It's literally like the perfect end to my day. Now, like, if I don't do that, I feel a little empty inside, not gonna lie. But as you guys know, I have been talking about it quite a lot. I've been getting into reading more recently, which is something I've always said I want to do, but I finally did it, and the best thing ever, let me just say. And so today's video is dedicated to the lovely stack of books we have right behind me. I'm so excited to go through it and talk about all of these, chat about them with you guys. I have some recommendations, as well as just telling you like what I've been reading and my thoughts on them. I also want to say a huge thank you to this video sponsor, Book of the Month. A dream to work with them. Book of the Month is a online service. I absolutely love the concept of this. Hear me out, okay? They do all of the difficult work for you. I'm telling you, part of the reason it took me so long to get onto reading is because there are so many books obviously in the world, and I couldn't decide just like which one to choose. There's so many recommendations, I didn't even know where to start. But Book of the Month goes through all these hundreds of thousands of books, and they choose 5 for you every month, and from there you get to decide which one you want. It's absolutely risk-free because you can skip a month if you want to. You also get to choose the book out of the 5 that they chose for you. But this is great on so many levels because they help you find like emerging authors and books you never would have like heard of, because there are so many underrated underground authors out there. On top of that, they have the best prices for new release hardcover fiction books, because we all know books can get really pricey. You guys can totally check out Book of the Month and use my code here to get your first hardcover book for only $9.99, which is absolutely amazing. I'm actually gonna start right there with the Book of the Month book that I read this month. Oh my gosh, it's in the bottom of the watch this. Hey, that was like that game. I almost called it Bluekiss. Jenga. First off, so this is my book that I got from Book of the Month. It's called People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This is one of those super cutesy I'm so excited talking about books. Okay, this is a really cute love story. It's also like a best friends to lovers. I absolutely love that trope because, you know, I'm a sucker for that, let me just say. It's about Poppy and Alex basically, and they've been best friends for a long time. They became friends in college, and it's over a span of a long time. They meet up once a year for vacation, and it's like both of their highlights. They are very busy, they're very different people. She moves to New York, he's a small town Ohio boy, he's a teacher, and she's a travel blogger. Yeah, I love how this book is written. It alternates between like present tense and past tense in the chapters, so it goes backwards in her trip. So it's a trip from like 10 years ago, and then she's talking about the present day, and then the next chapter is her trip from 9 years ago, and then the present day. And basically it's unraveling their beautiful love story, and it kind of leads up to like this one trip, and you have to figure out like what happened between her and Alex, and you are just well, I was rooting for them obviously. But I absolutely love this book. I totally recommend it, and what I love about this is I never would have heard of it without Book of the Month, so need I say more? Be sure to check them out, use my code. All the info will be in the description. Next book we are grabbing from the pile here. You're gonna see it slowly like diminish as we keep going. This book, Grit. This was my workbook, written by Angela Duckworth, who is a psychologist, and it's like all of her studies combined together, talking about this thing she calls grit. Grit is all about perseverance and passion and hard work. It is very motivating, I would say, and she also just backs it up with a bunch of super interesting like stories and studies that she's done. So she's traveled, talked to so many other psychologists, scientists, and other super successful people. If you're feeling a little bit down, you feel like you're not naturally gifted, lacking in motivation, this will really help you. I feel like this would have been very helpful to read in like a school sense when I was kind of struggling on that end. This one, In 5 Years, I actually just started this one, as you can see. It's about a girl named Danny. She works at a law firm. She's super type A. She has everything planned out to the T, by the number, to the decimal. Fiance, her career set up, got it all. I love books set in New York. I don't know why. But then one day, out of nowhere, she wakes up. Things just aren't making sense to her. It's a little like hop into the future. She looks at the news, and it is 2025, 5 years into the future. She's with a different dude, not her fiance. She is just disoriented, confused as to where she is, not in her apartment. So far it's got me hooked. Gonna be a fast read, I can tell, but I really love stuff like this. I'm gonna say I recommend it. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna enjoy it. I enjoy like most books like this, trying to figure out like what happened after that whole ordeal. She goes back to sleep. and wakes up in her normal life and she's like,
what happened?
So that's where I'm at right now. Next book, Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. A little bit of a switch, a little more of a depressing, mellow note. Fun story, I actually gave this book to my dad afterwards. He read it. We read the discussion questions in the back and had a little discussion book club with my dad and I. Okay, but I'm actually gonna say I like this one a little bit more than Little Fires Everywhere. I love Celeste Ng's writing. She gives you so many different perspectives, which is what I freaking love about books. Like, knowing all what's going on in everyone's head is kind of crazy. It's about a girl named Lydia, and she is a Chinese American. They're living in like Ohio, and it's in the 80s, so there's not very many Asians, so she has a difficult time like fitting in and ends up being found dead at like the bottom of the lake, and it's kind of unwinding what caused it to happen. There's a bunch of different things going on with her relationships with all her siblings, with her parents, the stuff going on between her parents, so much going on. As you can see, it's a pretty slim book, pretty quick read. It's also a pretty heavy read, but I empathized so much with Lydia and I really understood where she was coming from, as well as even her parents and what her siblings were feeling. A very, very good book. Really gets you thinking. Next one. This is a current read. This is also like one of those, you don't like sit and read. Well, I mean, maybe some people do. I'm not though. I'm guilty. I found this one on TikTok. This is an essay book, but I guess it's kind of like self-help-ish, motivational in my opinion. From what I've read so far, you can read it in order. You also don't have to. As you can kind of see, I'm like highlighting, trying to annotate it. 101 essays that will change the way you think. I don't know why. Maybe I'm a little bit of a nerd. I really enjoy reading essays. I also like that they're all very thought-provoking. You can also just pick and choose which ones you want to read, and you can also reread them so many times. Maybe you're feeling a little down, not super motivated at the moment. Just pick this baddie up and you'll read an essay that will change the way you think. Really love this book. Okay, this book I finished like 2 nights ago. This book, oh my gosh, it aged me in the best way possible. I was telling my mom, I feel like I have literally been through motherhood reading this book, which sounds crazy. It's called Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. First off, rep PNW. She's from Washington, so I just gotta support them, okay? Also, it's a recent Netflix show. You know, just like how I won't let myself wear clothes before I film a haul. Actually, maybe that's not a good comparison, but like, I don't like watching shows or movies before I read the book, so I was like putting a little hold on it. Basically, this goes through like 30 years of friendship between these 2 girls, Tully and Katie. They're polar opposites, but they work so well together, and it goes all the way from them meeting in high school to them in college to their relationship in the post-college work life. You go through their fights. You just cover so many years with this. Oh my gosh, it's like heart-wrenching. You feel for the characters so much. Like, the character development is crazy because you literally feel like you're growing up with them or like as them. I can't say too much without spoiling it. It's kind of like a, not like coming of age, but it really just does follow 2 characters' lives. It also has amazing like meaning to the end of the book, so I absolutely love that one. It really was a tearjerker for me. Really got me, okay? I have 2 more physical books here, but I don't have the actual books with me because I got them like from the library, but I read a whole freaking series and I was it got me. The Infernal Devices series by Cassandra Clare. She was my, you know how people are like Harry Potter kids or Percy Jackson kids? I wasn't either of those, but I was Mortal Instruments. I was a sucker for it, and I'm planning on rereading it. But this is kind of like not a spin-off. It's like somewhat connected to the Mortal Instruments series. Clockwork Angel, then the Clockwork Prince, and then the Clockwork Princess. I breezed through these books. Oh my gosh, there's so much. How do I cover all of this? Basically, there's a girl, her name is Tessa Gray. She's an ordinary girl living in New York, and then her like aunt dies and her world gets swept up. She's chasing her brother who moved to like London or something, and so she goes to find him, but she gets swept up into the world of like shadow hunters, which I know I sound crazy. It's just one of those things you like kind of get into, and I can't explain the entire plot of it, but I just clearly really liked it. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. Like, I kid you not, oh my gosh. Okay, that's enough. Now a book that I didn't like as much. I mentioned this on my story and some people were kind of confused because I know there is kind of like a, I don't know if it's a fandom, but like a lot of people do like this book called Anna and the French Kiss. I thought this book was alright. Like, I read it. It wasn't painful to get through, but I was kind of like fidgeting reading it just because I was kind of I don't know, what kind of annoyed me. I was kind of irked by the main character. She felt kind of like I'm different than the other girl. Sorry, I sound really mean right now. It just wasn't like my favorite book. It kind of reminded me of like a Wattpad story, but like a bad Wattpad story. It just felt very like cliche. But then it's also the type of thing I would definitely read. Like there's a love story, love triangle, she's in Paris. It was okay, just not my favorite. I wouldn't recommend it to someone, but it wasn't like awful. This is another book that was offered in Book of the Month 5-book selection. I just started this one last night, but it's kind of like a different genre I haven't really read before. I've tried to read like kind of thrillers, but I either got scared or I just stopped reading it. This one, it's another PNW, so I kind of have to read it, but it's kind of like a little thriller mystery, which actually I think is gonna be very interesting. I'll just read you a part of storyline. After the shocking deaths of 2 teenage boys tear apart a community in the Pacific Northwest, an unfamiliar pregnant girl emerges out of the woods and into the lives of those boys' families. Why the boys died and what their tragedy has to do with this girl are the propulsive mysteries at the center of Joanne Tompkins' story. Just as urgent is the question how the families will move forward. What comes after the grief and what does forgiveness look like? There's more, but that's the premise of the book. I'm not that far. I'm a couple chapters in, but you can tell there's a lot to unpack here. This is another book that I've never heard of, and I'm very used to reading books, you know, from TikTok or like super hyped up ones, because I feel like I have to get through the mainstream popular books before I can divulge deeper. But I think that there's so much in reading these little hidden gems and I really enjoy them. Okay, the last book that I will be talking about that I am also currently reading, as you can see, not very far into this one either. It's called Dance of Thieves. I don't know why I like these types of like kind of fantasy-ish, like old these types of books really get me, okay? But this one is about a girl named Kazi and I don't even know if I'm saying her name right. This other guy named Jace, and they have different kingdoms, I guess, that are all like at war-ish with each other, and they're like little fighter warrior people, their kingdom, and basically they're like running around doing this. That was literally the worst explanation ever. I'm gonna read it to you. Formidable outlaw family that claims to be the first among nations, a son destined to lead, thrust suddenly into power. 3 fierce young women of the Rattan, the Queen's premier guard, a legendary street thief leading a mission, determined to prove herself, a dark secret that is a threat to the entire continent. When outlaw leader meets reformed thief, a cat and mouse game of false moves ensues, bringing them intimately together in a battle that may cost them their lives and their hearts. So far, like, I really enjoy the writing. I really like the characters. Yeah, it's taking me on a little journey, so I really like it. I'm reading like 5 books right now, and my brain, as you can tell, not really functioning. Can't really speak. But yeah, those are all the books I'm reading, have read. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've read any of those thoughts, please chat with me in the comments. I would love to talk to you about them. Be sure to check out Book of the Month. Thank you to them for sponsoring this video. And other than that, leave me book recommendations below. Like, it's probably gonna take me a year to read them, but I would still love to hear about it. So other than that, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.
I know you wanna leave, so come on, baby, be with me so happily.